What if you could predict the fall of civilization? I mean, not just guess, but actually calculate it with mathematical certainty. Okay, let's dive into one of the all-time greats, Isaac Asimov's legendary saga, Foundation. It's this grand thought experiment that imagines a future where history itself has become a science. So here's the setup. We're talking about a crisis on a galactic scale. There's this massive, sprawling galactic empire that's ruled for 12,000 years, and it's dying. It's rotting from the inside out. And at the center of it all is one man, Hari Seldon. Now, he's not a general or an emperor, he's a mathematician. And his numbers are telling him something terrifying. A dark age is coming, an age of barbarism and chaos that's going to last for an unthinkable 30,000 years. So the big question is, what can anyone possibly do about it? Well, Seldon's answer lies in this radical, almost heretical new science he's developing. He's proposing that history isn't just one random event after another. Nope, he thinks it's a process, one that can be understood and maybe even guided. It's a science designed not just to look at the past, but to actually chart the course for the future. He calls it psychohistory, and its core idea is absolutely fascinating. Seldon realized that while you can't predict what one person is going to do, people are just too unpredictable, you can predict the mass actions of billions of people with stunning accuracy. Think of it like gas in a container. You have no idea where any single molecule is going to bounce next, but you can predict the behavior of the entire gas, the pressure, the temperature, with near certainty. For psychohistory, individuals are just statistical noise. Now, here's the thing. Seldon can't actually stop the fall. It's way too late for that. The decay is too deep. But he creates a plan to shorten the brutal dark age that follows. He sets up two foundations, basically these colonies of the best and brightest minds in the Empire, and he places them at opposite ends of the galaxy. Their secret mission? To act as a seed of civilization, to preserve all that knowledge, and to guide humanity through the coming storm, cutting a 30,000-year nightmare down to a single millennium, just 1,000 years. Okay, so you've got this small, isolated planet full of scientists. How on earth are they supposed to survive when they're surrounded by these crumbling, aggressive warlord kingdoms? Well, Seldon's plan accounted for that too. It gave them a totally unique strategy for survival and for gaining influence. The first foundation has to get smart. They learn to adapt, wielding different kinds of power as the Seldon Plan unfolds. At first, they use religion. To the barbarian kingdoms around them, their nuclear power and advanced tech looks like straight-up magic. So they create this scientific priesthood that basically controls the neighboring systems. But that kind of control doesn't last forever. So when its influence starts to fade, they pivot to trade. They create an economic dependency so complete that no one can afford to attack them. It's a brilliant one-two punch. And this perfectly captures their whole philosophy, which was summed up by Salvor Hardin, the Foundation's first great leader. They don't win through brute force. They win by being smarter. They understand that real power isn't always about having the biggest starships. Sometimes it's about making sure your enemy literally can't function without you. For about a century and a half, the Seldon Plan is working perfectly. It's just clockwork. Crisis after crisis comes along, and they overcome them, exactly like the math predicted. The path to a new, Second Empire seems totally certain. But, even the most brilliant plan can't account for absolutely everything, especially the random, unpredictable nature of a single, powerful person. You see, the whole problem with a science of history based on the actions of massive populations is that it has a blind spot. A huge one, the individual. And one very, very powerful individual is about to come along and break the whole system. Seldon's mathematics worked with blind mobs and massive social forces, not with unique individuals who had special abilities. And that's where the Mule comes in. The Mule is a mutant, a total statistical anomaly, with the psychic power to control human emotions. He can make his enemies adore him. He can make his followers fanatically loyal. He is a force that, as the book says, Seldon's plan was unprovided for, uncalculated for. And in just a few short years, the Mule does the impossible. He conquers the supposedly invincible First Foundation. And he doesn't do it with better tech or bigger armies. He does it by turning its people's emotions against them. Just like that, the Seldon Plan, this thing that was supposed to be a mathematical certainty, it's shattered. And humanity's future is once again totally up in the air. But hold on. Remember, Hari Seldon was a master of contingency. He didn't just establish one foundation, he established two. The fall of the first one was a catastrophe for sure, but it wasn't the end of the line. It was time for the plan's ultimate insurance policy, its secret guardians, to finally be revealed. When you put the two foundations side by side, the contrast is just night and day, right? The first foundation, out on the edge of the galaxy, was all about the physical sciences. Nuclear power, trade, technology, they were the public face of the plan. But the second foundation was totally hidden. They were a society of psychohistorians and mental scientists. They were the guardians of the plan itself. So you get it, right? Their role was never to build an empire or invent gadgets. Their job was to protect the timeline. They were the subtle course correctors, the shepherds making sure everything stayed on the path Seldon had laid out. Their fight against the Mule wouldn't be with starships and blasters, but with the power of the mind itself. This whole incredible galaxy-spanning story, with all its intricate plans and counterplans, well, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was the lifelong work of one of science fiction's true giants, Isaac Asimov. Asimov was just 21 years old when he started writing these stories, inspired by reading about the fall of the Roman Empire. After he published the original trilogy, he pretty much thought he was done with it. But for decades, readers were just begging him, constantly asking, what happens next? And eventually, that pressure persuaded him to return and finally complete the saga. And it's no wonder he had other things on his mind. I mean, Isaac Asimov was an absolute force of nature. The man was a writing machine, unbelievably prolific, publishing over 260 books. His work spanned nearly every single category in the library classification system, everything from science and history to Shakespeare. And it's that incredible breadth of knowledge that let him imagine a future so detailed and a science of history that feels so darn plausible. And this is really why Foundation still resonates so deeply with people today. It explores these huge, timeless questions. Are we doomed to just repeat the same cycles of history over and over again? What's the real nature of power? And how much impact can one person truly have against the grand, sweeping forces of their time? Ultimately, Asimov leaves us with this really provocative, kind of unsettling question. Knowing the future might save us from generations of chaos, sure, but what does it cost us in freedom? If we could actually create a science of history, would we even want to know the answers?